Joining me is the foreign editor at The Australian, Greg Sheridan. Greg, thank you as always. Mike Burgess, comments reported by the ABC today where the ASIO Director General is seeking to clarify his previous remarks. Initially, he said rhetorical support for Hamas might not preclude someone from getting a visa. Now, in these remarks, he's saying liking a tweet might prevent someone from getting a visa. He's certainly sought to toughen up the language and the bar for getting a visa from Gaza.
Yeah, that's right, Kieran. So this is a very welcome development. It's long overdue, weeks and weeks and weeks overdue. I interviewed John Howard about this last week. He said he couldn't believe the government had created this muddle and then left it so long to fix it up. Now, Mike Burgess is a very good guy, but his statement today is a little bit disingenuous. It is more or less a complete repudiation of what he said on the Insiders program, but he's saying that his remarks on the Insiders program were misinterpreted. But I just reviewed the transcript of the Insiders program, and Spears says to him, is rhetorical support for Hamas okay? He gives, an unclear answer. So Spears follows up and says, is rhetorical support okay? And Burgess says just rhetorical wouldn't be a problem. Now, Burgess is claiming that sort of that just rhetorical didn't, I think what he's trying to say today is that phrase just rhetorical didn't refer to support for Hamas, but referred to support for a Palestinian state. Now, if that's the case, he could have cleared it up the next day by issuing a corrective statement. It's been an unbelievable mess by the government and by Burgess, you'd have to say, to leave it for so long. But it's a very good thing that this statement has been made, because it's clear now that the Australian state, the Australian government, will not accept someone who is a supporter of Hamas in any degree. That's a very welcome development.
Yeah, indeed. And you put those two things side by side. First of all, the rhetorical statement, comment that he made to David on the ABC, and then you've got that other issue, which he's referred to today, which would have to be described as rhetorical at best, liking a tweet of that sort. So it shows you there is a significant bar to getting a visa to Australia under the ASIO view, Greg.
That's absolutely right. And then beyond that as well, over and above that, so that's all true, but then over and above that, the government has to make a decision on character grounds whether it issues a visa to someone. So all kinds of people, many, many people are refused visas to Australia on character grounds who are not themselves security threats. So another problem with Burgess' original comments was that the normal listener who is not an expert on these things would think that that was the only bar to coming into Australia. If ASIO didn't take official notice of you, then you were clear and free. Whereas in fact, you know, if you're a supporter of the Ku Klux Klan, you're not likely to become a terrorist, but the government is not going to let you into the country. Now, the government is responsible for this mess much more than Burgess. Burgess clearly misspoke on the David Spears program. He, I think, would regret his choice of words at the very least. And the government then didn't clear it up. Now, Burgess has cleared it up. I expect there'll be some sort of follow-up in Parliament next week, but we're in a much better position now. And surely next time Anthony Albanese is asked, does being a supporter of Hamas rule you out from coming to Australia, he can simply answer yes. And if he'd done that on the first day, none of this intervening schmozzle, which has been so damaging to ASIO, so damaging to Palestinians who are already here, so damaging to the government at a political level, none of that would have occurred if Albanese had answered the question yes on day one.
A separate related matter, the protests in Israel right now, and we've seen gatherings around the world, in fact, including in Sydney, in support of those the families affected by the death of those hostages. But there is immense pressure right now on Benjamin Netanyahu from within.
That's right. So the execution of those 6 innocent hostages was a terrible thing. They were all shot in the head, including an American citizen, when the Israeli soldiers were about to liberate them. Now, I don't think Netanyahu bears any moral responsibility for that. The people who bear moral responsibility for that are the terrorists who killed them. Nonetheless, there is a great unease in Israel about Netanyahu's stewardship, that his government had become lax on security. That's what led to October 7. He hasn't accepted responsibility for that. Now, on the clear forensic question, is Netanyahu the roadblock to a ceasefire, or is it Hamas? There have been several occasions where the Americans have said Israel is offering a generous ceasefire, and Hamas really doesn't want it. The leader of Hamas, Sinwar, will be killed if ever he emerges, and they want this to go on because it damages Israel's name internationally, and they want to provoke a wider regional war if they can. But I don't think this ongoing situation is in Israel's interests at all, apart from the humanitarian disaster of what's happening to the people in Gaza. And I think there is a feeling in Israel that Netanyahu could bring this combat phase to a close, and that would increase the chances of the hostages' survival. On the other hand, Netanyahu might do all that, and Hamas might still execute all the hostages. It's impossible to know, but it's certainly the case that Netanyahu is unpopular and he's under enormous pressure.
On the United States now and the presidential race, what's your assessment of where things are right now?
Look, I think it's about as even as it could be. Maybe Harris just a fraction ahead. She's ahead in the polls, but consistently Trump has overperformed his polls. She's ahead by a much smaller margin than Biden was at the same stage or Hillary Clinton was at the same stage. Trump certainly was discombobulated by her candidacy, but he seems to be returning more now to the issues, and Vance is becoming an effective campaigner. I thought Kamala Harris's interview with CNN was truly bizarre. I mean, she's not suffering cognitive decline like Joe Biden, but no one has used more words to say nothing. And the sort of word salads, the word confetti out of her interview has become a meme. It's become viral. Every centre-right talk show in America and indeed around the world is mocking her performance because of her ability to just go on uttering banality after banality without saying anything. Now that's bizarre for a politician in the prime of their lives. Think of the way Bill Clinton or Barack Obama or even George W. Bush handled televised interviews. Now I don't think that is going to kill her or anything, but she's going to be very reluctant to repeat this experience, and you couldn't have got a more softball interview than CNN gave her. So the debate is lining up as absolutely critical. Trump has to control himself. Her strategy, I guess, will be to provoke Trump, to get the ugly, hectoring, bullying Trump into full view. So each candidate, there are a lot of reasons to vote against each candidate, and I think they're almost in a dead heat right now. As I say, Harris may be just a fraction ahead.
Greg Sheridan, thanks.